leaders affiliated to the Azimio La Umoja. Odinga has since left the Supreme Court premises and is now headed to the KICC, where he is probably expected to address the media. Our reporter David Muthoka was on that beat since morning and now joins us on via phone to just give us a recap of what was happening early this afternoon at the Supreme Court. It's nice to speak with you once again, Muthoka. The Odinga-led team, Azimio La Umoja, has officially filed a petition to challenge the win or declaration of William Ruto as president-elect. And we saw just before they left for the KICC being given a certificate. Was that a confirmation that the petition has officially been received by the Supreme Court, or what was going on, Muthoka?
Well, Purity, after that certificate has been issued to the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya leader, Raila Odinga, and his running mate, Martha Karua, that means that they have officially lodged a petition with the Supreme Court challenging the victory of President-elect William Ruto. And so now the ball is literally on the court of the Supreme Court, the apex court in the land, to hear and determine that matter in the next 14 days. Constitutionally, after 2 weeks, then that particular case becomes null and void. And so definitely we have seen quite an afternoon right here, Purity, and of course we were engaging in the past 1 hour, just seeing how the situation went on. And as we saw, the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya presidential candidate was the third petitioner to arrive right here at Forodha House, which is a sub-registry of the Supreme Court. And so definitely being the third, they came with, we have managed to count the number of boxes of documents and evidence that they have, and the number, to be precise, is 39, with supporting affidavits in that case, just definitely in their bid to make their case watertight. And so definitely after they brought these particular evidence as well as the boxes that they had, they were received by the particular judiciary officers who were here, and definitely they were also accompanied by their battery of lawyers who arrived here some earlier than they did. And so they went on to the verification phase of the authenticity as well as the very number of boxes as well as pieces of evidence that they have. And after the verification, then that is when we saw that is the registrar of the Supreme Court, in this case that is Letitia Wachira, issue them with a certificate confirming that they have successfully lodged their petition challenging the victory of William Ruto as president-elect, as announced by IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati on Monday evening. Of course, that came as quite an 11th hour lodging of a petition, a last-minute lodging of a petition. Remember, after the victory of William Ruto was made public and announced by IEBC last Monday, constitutionally, the very petitioners had just a week, exactly 7 days, to file their petition. And so that particular window was shutting down actually this evening, and it was more or less like an 11th hour filing of a petition. And so they are the third petitioners in this case to challenge the victory of William Ruto as president-elect. Two previous petitioners had arrived here before the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya presidential candidate. And just going quickly through their names and what their petition is all about. The first petitioner was John Njoroge Kamau, who is challenging, who has listed Wafula Chebukati, the IEBC, William Ruto, and Rigathi Gachagua as the respondents in that case. And then definitely we saw the lawyer for John Njoroge Kamau arrive here, be the first petitioner to file and lodge and successfully lodge the petition challenging that announcement of William Ruto as president-elect. And then we saw, just before Odinga arrived with his entire battery of lawyers, we saw 4 petitioners lodge a single petition right here. And therefore, just going quickly through their names, that is Halifa, that is an activist, George Osewe, Ruth Mumbi, and Grace Kamau, who in their petition are versus IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, William Ruto, and Attorney General Kihara Kariuki. And so definitely we are trying just to look at the Azimio petition. On the other hand, who are the particular respondents in that case? And just looking at it just quickly right here, the first petitioner in this case is Raila Odinga, while the second petitioner is Martha Wangari Karua. Remember, that is the running mate to presidential candidate of Azimio, Raila Odinga. They have lodged, or rather listed, the following as their respondents. The first respondent is the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. The second respondent is Wanyonyi Wafula Chebukati. That is the IEBC chairman, as well as the returning officer for the just concluded presidential election. The third respondent is Boya Molu, a commissioner. The fourth respondent is Professor Abdi Yakub Gulie, another commissioner of the IEBC. We've also seen the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth respondents as well as commissioners. Just going quickly through their names, that is Juliana Honge Cherera, Justus Nyangaya, Francis Wanderi, and Irene Masit. And just concluding the list of respondents is William Samoei Ruto, who is the ninth respondent in this case. As we have been able to see, the petition was definitely drawn and filed by Paul Mwangi and company advocates, and definitely, just looking at it, it is an entire humble petition of Raila Odinga and Martha Wangari Karua, whose address for services definitely, who are rather the parties in this case, are definitely that petition. They will be seeking to annul the just concluded presidential election. It is Odinga's third attempt to overturn a presidential election. Remember, in 2013, Odinga, then of CORD, and Kalonzo Musyoka and other leaders of CORD went to the Supreme Court that was then chaired by the retired Chief Justice, in this case the 14th Chief Justice, and that is Dr. Willie Mutunga, to try and annul, or rather convince the Supreme Court to annul that particular victory, the first term victory of Uhuru Kenyatta of TNA and William Ruto of URP. But they ended up hitting a dead end because Mutunga then went on to uphold the victory, rendering, or rather condemning Raila Odinga to the opposition benches, while at the same time uplifting that is Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto to their first term in office. And then we saw in 2017 Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka, as well as then other NASA principals, that is Moses Wetangula, the Ford Kenya party leader, and ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi, moved to the very Supreme Court to challenge the second term victory of Uhuru Ruto. And then it came as a surprise, and it came as a history-making moment, a record-breaking moment in this case, when the Supreme Court, then chaired by the very retired Chief Justice David Kenani Maraga, went on to nullify the particular presidential election, though it came as a temporary reprieve for Odinga, who was defeated in the repeat polls, albeit he boycotted the particular polls, calling for the resignation of then and current actually IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati and the entire commission to be disbanded. And so right now, this is the third attempt and the third petition that Odinga is filing with the Supreme Court. He will be hoping, in as much as he has had a bag of mixed fortunes at the Supreme Court in the past presidential petitions, he will be hoping that now, with the evidence that he's brought here, that he will be, for the second time, making history by leading or prompting the Supreme Court to nullify a presidential election. Well, definitely that is it. And as it stands, Odinga, we haven't managed actually to speak to him as he left right here, of course, into the crowd of the waiting hundreds of supporters, actually thousands of supporters who had thronged the entrance of this particular sub-registry. But of course, he's made his way to the Kenyatta International Convention Center, that is the KICC, where we expect him to speak more about what he expects from the Supreme Court in the coming 2 weeks. Remember, it is more or less like a do-or-die moment politically for him, and it has been touted to be Odinga's final stab at the presidency, while it was his main competitor, William Ruto's first stab as well. And so looking at that, those are the both extremes. election that is now being challenged by Odinga. Of course, we'll be hearing what he has to say. For the past 1 week, he has been quite optimistic that he will that this particular election will be overturned. But of course, that particular answer and that particular decision solely lies in the hands of the 7-judge Supreme Court bench that, as I mentioned, is being chaired by Chief Justice, the 16th Chief Justice, Martha Koome. Purity.
David Muthoka, thank you so much for that comprehensive report and update on what has been going on since a few minutes past noon, when the Azimio team, led by the presidential candidate Raila Odinga, officially filed a petition challenging the declaration of Dr. William Ruto as a president-elect. And that has officially been done as the Raila Odinga team has already been handed over in a certificate that signified that the petition has officially been received by the registrar's office at the Supreme Court of Kenya. And Raila Odinga, after that, he left for the KICC, where he is expected